Call Stuart Nash.
Mr Chair, that was a very interesting...
Point of order, Tim McIndoe.
I apologise to the member because I was literally making my way to my desk. Mr Chair, I seek leave to correct a vote that was cast earlier this evening in good faith but in error.
Leave is sought for that purpose. Is there any objection? There's no objection, and the...
Thank you, Mr Chair. I just want to assure the House that it was genuinely in error and the proxy form was held, but there should not have been a vote cast on behalf of the ACT Party at approximately 12 minutes to 8 in support of Part 1 of this bill.
So Part 1, we'll just correct the record. So the Part 1 on the New Zealand flag referendums bill, the ayes are 62 and the noes are 58. So Part 1 did stand part. Now, Stuart Nash.
Mr Chair, I just want to make a couple of comments on some of the words that John O'Naylor talked about. The great difference between any other flag that a Kiwi wishes to fly and the 1902 flag is the 1902 flag is enshrined in legislation as an appropriate flag for any New Zealander to fly other than a government department. Now, there are a whole lot of Kiwis up and down this country that have flagpoles. I'm very lucky to have a 100-year-old Kauri flagpole. For example, when the in-laws are coming, I fly the skull and crossbones. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be codified in legislation, but it's just one of those things we do. It's a little bit funny. When the All Blacks are playing, you fly the All Black flag, etc., etc. What this does, Mr Chair, is I believe this creates a level of confusion that didn't exist beforehand and doesn't need to exist now. And let me give you an example. One of the reasons that the Prime Minister continually talks about the need to change the flag is the confusion between the New Zealand flag and the Australian flag. I personally don't believe there is any confusion, but the Prime Minister, I think even in question time today, talked about a level of confusion. Well, imagine the confusion, Mr Chair, when we have in our legislation the right to fly the 1902 flag, or we should actually call it the New Zealand flag, because it is still the New Zealand flag, but the 1902 flag because it is set down in legislation. So we are going to literally have two official flags, the 1902 flag and which I believe will actually end up being the New Zealand flag. But if by some point of chance there is a change, the 1902 flag and the new design, that, Mr Chair, is going to create a level of confusion that I think is unpalatable and the confusion that may exist at the moment between New Zealand and the Australian flag will pale into insignificance. Mr Chair, I'd also like to talk about Clause 8, where it talks about replace Section 10, Part 2 and Part 3 with this. It says, the Minister may, and I'm quoting here, the Minister may, either in any notice issued under subsection 1 or otherwise. Now, what does or otherwise actually mean? Is there a definition for or otherwise? What we have here is that it specifies under subsection 1, so we know what that means because we can automatically go to subsection 1, but then we have a complete catch-all or otherwise. Now, if there was an open-ended ability for a minister to do whatever they want, this is talking about the general rules, information and guidance and rules of conduct and etiquette that must be followed when flying the flag on a building. So what it says is there are subsection 1 or otherwise, which basically means that the minister can make up at his or her discretion any rules as they see fit. But where it gets a little bit confusing, Mr Chair, is then you go down to 4, which is just below that, a notice or other prescription, which I assume fits in the or otherwise section, made under subsection 1. Or rules set out under subsection 2. So that is in direct conflict with the thing above, which gives an open-ended ability for a minister to... Sorry to
interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to report progress. Point of order, Tim McIndoe.
Mr Chair, apologies, but in light of the leave that I sought previously, I should also have sought leave to correct the closure motion, and I now seek leave to do that.
Leave is sought for that purpose. Is there any objection? There is no objection. The record then will be changed. This is the closure motion on Part 1. The ayes are 62 and the noes are 58. It's time now for me to report progress.
Kia ora mai tātou. The House is resumed.
Mr Speaker, the committee has considered the New Zealand Flag Referendums Bill and reports progress. The committee has also further considered the Appropriation 2015-16 Estimates Bill and reports no progress. Mr Speaker, I move that the report be adopted.
Members, the question is that the report be adopted. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The New Zealand Flag Referendums Bill and the Appropriation 2015-2016 Estimates Bill are set down for further consideration in committee next sitting day. Members, the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.